Alright everyone, welcome to Fate Hollow Ataraxia. This is a supposed continuation to the Fate Stay Night visual novel. However, I've been told it's meant to really be a fan disc or a fan service kind of game, and honestly, that's all I know about it. I never really got a chance to play this one, and I know that it's more of a, I guess you can say, slice of life type of visual novel, but it does have a core story following along it. So I'm honestly curious about it, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to play the first Fate Stay first before I followed up with this one, because I felt like you needed to play the whole story of the Fate Stay Night game prior to trying this one out. And so now that we completed Fate Stay Night, I'm ready to check out, I was gonna say something else, but Fate Hollow Ataraxia. And if anything, guys, hope you all join me in this one. This seems like a fun game to check out, and if anything else, hope you all enjoy. Thank you again for the love and support, and let's do this. He said he was afraid of the night. City of Shinto, Kurokizaka District, Block 4, Semina Apartments, 11th floor, Room 2. That's where he lived. His name was, well, let's just call him Mr. A. Mr. A was a student, and having just turned 20, had moved in at the beginning of spring. This was the first time he ever moved, the first time he ever lived by himself, and the first time he was in an unfamiliar neighborhood. While Mr. A, an introvert by nature, still felt lost, he was adjusting to life in Fuyuki gradually. Mr. A was comfortable being alone in the first place, and never seemed to care much about having a few friends or living among strangers. Rather, he preferred things that way. Mr. A, who would shut himself in his room, apparently liked not having his new life disturbed by anyone, be it friends or family. Mr. A was satisfied with his life, except for two things: the long hallway leading to the entrance, and the hopeless thoughtlessness of the family that moved in next door 1 month prior. That was a weird glitch. What was unsettling him began since he moved into the apartment in spring. What his parents had set up for him was a XXXN monthly 4-bedroom apartment. The size was nothing to complain about. While Mr. A loved being alone, he had an inclination towards luxury and didn't favor living plainly. Spoiled, okay. When it came to the dwelling, the bigger the better. To someone like him who hated the outside world, this place was a fortress. It had to be large and solid. It couldn't be easy to reach. He couldn't relax if it wasn't impenetrable. That's right. It wasn't that Mr. A liked being alone. It was the issue of others being near. He was unconsciously afraid of someone other than himself intruding into his space. There was another reason why Mr. A chose Semina Apartments. It was the distance from the living room to the door. The long hallway was the first and last obstacle to pass through in order to enter or leave the apartment. The 4-meter-long hallway stretched in a straight line from the living room to the door. There were neither storage rooms nor a bathroom along the way. It was an unusual hallway for an apartment to have, but it seems Mr. A took a liking to it for its length. It took up the ideal amount of space and was an ideal entranceway. The far-off separation from the entrance was not so much a medium between inside and outside. It was more of an ambiguous boundary. It was unnatural. One could say that the hallway itself was the real entrance. However, once he began living there, something about the hallway started to worry him. With such splendid length, what could possibly worry him about it? After being puzzled for several months, he finally figured it out. It was simple. The long hallway had no lights. It looked like a structural flaw had left no space to install any lights. The hallways of the other apartments had them, but only in room 2 of floor 11 were they forgotten. How stupid. Not the worker that forgot to install lights, but himself, who had noticed only now after living there for several months. Come to think of it, he had already made a wrong turn the moment he had failed to realize what was amiss. Fall came and new tenants moved in next door. They were the kind of happy family you could find anywhere. A young married couple and a 3-year-old daughter. The only contact he had with them was limited to a simple greeting when they were moving in. All Mr. A knew about them was their surname, XX, and the daughter's name, Ha ha ha. 7 Apartments is an L-shaped building with only 2 apartments on each floor. At the center is the entrance into the building, and each apartment occupies the entire horizontal or vertical part of the L. At the entrance, there is a door leading to the elevator and the emergency stairwell. Sometimes Mr. A would meet the double X couple at the entranceway, but on rare occasions he saw alone by herself.
お兄ちゃん、ボタン押してくれる？
Alright, hold on guys, I'm gonna have to change the settings on the voice here. That's a little too loud. Let's go to config. We'll go to voice volume. We'll keep it right here. I think this should be good. Hit OK. Whenever they met, she would say that. The elevator buttons were slightly above her height. It was not too high for her to reach, but for some reason, she never raised her hands above her shoulders. While he thought it was strange that a 3-year-old would go out by herself, he did what the girl asked. And he would see her not just on the 11th floor, but also at the entrance on the 1st floor. Magic? He would find the girl crouching in front of the elevator as he was coming home or leaving. She would raise her head and say, looking up at him. I didn't catch that. I'm gonna have to pause that later. After having that exchange over and over again, Mr. A learned the girl's name. He did not remember it, however, perhaps because Mr. A has no interest in other people. Instead, he called her Little Red Riding Hood, because she always wore a red hood. I'll say it again. Mr. A was an introverted young man. As long as his lifestyle wasn't threatened, he didn't care about the outside world. Be it, for example, an argument heard from the other side of the wall, the sound of a little girl crying once every other day, a woman's screams that could only be described as shrieking, the girl not being able to raise her arm above her shoulders due to the neglected bone fracture, or her wearing a red hood to hide the bruises on her face because her father told her to, well, the stuff that only concerns other people. So she's being abused. This is already starting off on a great start. Yay. The ruckus of the neighboring room was only about a meter away from the door, but who could blame him? It was, after all, a long hall. The source of the screaming was several meters away, and he inevitably had to ignore it while watching TV. But on that night, it was especially loud. A blood-curdling scream. Oh no. Then siren-like crying. Then the sound of a door being opened violently, reverberating in the entranceway. Then the sound of something banging on Mr. A's door. That night had been aggravating to Mr. A, who had been quietly enjoying a late-night broadcast at 2 a.m. He was about to get up and ask them to behave like reasonable human beings. And so, get up he did, but soon sat back down. It'll probably end soon anyway. Their affairs were none of Mr. A's business. Butting in at this point would get him overly involved, so he avoided thinking about it. He raised the volume. What an ass. Whatever it is, it's their own responsibility. People ought to handle their own problems by themselves, and so Mr. A took the remote and raised the volume by 5 bars. By the end of the night, as he was turning off the TV and falling asleep, the usual nighttime silence had finally returned. The next day, Mr. A learned that there had been a family suicide next door. Ah, yeah, we're already getting off on a real good note now. It was the first time he had ever been questioned by the police. The night before, after having an argument, Mrs. Double X murdered Mr. Wow with a blade. After slashing her only daughter, she took her own life. Oh my god. When asked about it, I slept like a log and didn't hear anything, was Mr. A's answer. The officer thanked Mr. A for his cooperation and was about to leave. As he was walking away, Mr. A asked just one question.
一人娘はどうなったのでしょ
う? Lowering his eyebrows, the officer replied.
凶器には血液反応が残っていますから、刺されたことに間違いはありません。血痕からして致命傷であったと考えられます。
Okay, I probably misread that. I thought the daughter was the one that committed suicide. The wife, maybe? I'll have to reread it again later. Except, the young officer muttered uncomfortably.
遺体がないんですよ。どこにも。
Okay, so she might not be dead after all.
部屋にも逃げ出した後のエントランスにも。
What happened was simple. After being stabbed by her mother, the Little Red Riding Hood seems to have managed to escape into the entranceway. At that point, however, the trail stops. The bloodstains stop in front of the elevator.
なぜエレベーターを使わなかったんでしょうね。いえ、そもそもどうして隣室のあなたに助けを求めなかったのか。いくら錯乱していたからってチャイムを押すぐらいはできたでしょうに。
Mr. A couldn't bring himself to say that either button was far out of the girl's reach. The officer left and Mr. A remained standing in the doorway, deep in thought. 2 o'clock at night, he pictured the little girl escaped from her crazed mother but unable to leave the entranceway, desperately banging on Mr. A's door on the verge of collapse with a tear-stained face. And in the end, the girl's body was never found. Several days passed. Late at night, always at the same time, Mr. A started noticing a strange noise. The noise itself wasn't loud. If he didn't pay attention to it, it was almost inaudible. At first, Mr. A didn't think about what it could be. He told himself that it was just the wind shaking the window. But the noise came back every night. Oh, great, this is slowly turning into a horror game. Okay. Bang bang. It was the noise that was faint enough to be non-existent, yet it was getting on his nerves. When he realized that the noise wasn't from the window, but rather echoing in the hallway, and I missed that, Mr. A walked down the long hallway and brought himself to the door. Oh, why would you do that? Oh no. He asked who it was through the intercom. No response. The moment Mr. A came up to the door, the noise, which had been so soft moments ago, oh man, a face is gonna pop up, isn't it? I'm prepared. I'm prepared for it. He looked outside to the peephole. Around distorted view, nobody was there, just a clean-looking entranceway. Nothing except red specks on the cream-colored floor that... His eardrums felt like they were going to burst. There was no one in the entrance, but noise did not stop. Mr. A tried to look deeper into the peephole. Maybe there was someone there. Maybe he couldn't see it at this angle. The noise continued. Wait, there was something under the peephole, just outside of his view. Open it. Oh no. Something red, wearing a hood, was clinging onto the door. Is she haunting Mr. A? Oh god. He ran back down the long hallway. The clock was showing 2 a.m. Those late night visits became a routine event. The noise continued every night. Mr. A never opened the door. Mr. A's a smart man. Then one night, it happened again. It was insignificantly quiet. He could have just brushed it off as being a part of his imagination. I can't read that. But now it had been an avoidable angst that had stained his brain, cutting away at his nerves like a blade. With each day, Mr. A's mind was being cornered. It was the end of autumn. He could now hear it no matter what time it was. That night, he came to a decision. He would see for himself what was clinging to the door. Don't open the goddamn door, Mr. A! That's what Little Red wants. He walked down the long hallway. The light from the entranceway leaked in from behind the door. Passing to the unlit corridor. Open it. Open it. He pushed the door open. Here we go. There was nothing there. There was no one there. Because you invited her in, dummy. That painful knocking that had been echoing in his skull was gone as well. Of course, there was nothing. Something that ridiculous couldn't be true. There had never been any noise there, had never been a red hood. Laughter and relief mixed together. His chilled body rapidly regaining its warmth. He had just been hearing things. Somehow, it seemed that incident had gone to him. Without realizing it, he had felt guilty and developed paranoia. But that was all over. it all ended the moment he opened the door. Wiping sweat off his forehead, he closed the door. She probably ran right in the moment he opened it too. Once he had locked the door, he raised his head. And now you locked yourself with her. Good job. Before his very eyes. Oh no. Down the long, long dark hallway that he had been so fond of. His eyes widened. In the middle of the corridor, there was something. Wearing a red hood. Familiar dead body. It seemed to be pleading at him. Somehow, Mr. A knew that it would be the last thing he would hear before his death. From within the darkness, its lips moved. Like a watermelon that had been bored into with a knife. With a blood-stained voice, the Little Red Riding Hood spoke to him.
お兄ちゃん、ボタン。
Wow, that had me going too for a second.
なんだよそれつまんねえよっていうかなんでそんなに演出家なんだ実際三つ釣りデテール凝りすぎ芝居うますぎあと話長すぎそもそもなんだよその絵師そんなにヤバい状態になったら引っ越せもう引っ越せよ
October 11, past midnight in a guest room at Ryodo Temple. Makidera Kaede's shrieking voice resounds to the false sky.
引っ越せってそれができたら苦労しないでしょ。あんただってあんな家出てってやるなんて言ってもう何年よ。
Alright, I might have to adjust the voices still. It's still a little too... It's not as bad, but... I mean... That's... Okay, that should be good.
人間ね、多少の不安より愛着を取るもんなの。みんながみんな幽霊一匹で住処を移してたら、今頃この島はもぬけの殻になってるわ。
眼蓄のある言葉だ。なるほど。我々と階段は切っても切れぬ関係にある。時に牧寺、長廊下のお釈子様は健在か？
いいねっつーの我が家にそんな偉そうなやつはいないねあと夜中になったら雨降ってないのに廊下が水に濡れたりもしないね祖先が瀬戸内で海賊なんてやってもいないね
そっか。牧寺んとこも古い家だったっけ？何？廊下の話は鬼門だった？
うるさい廊下なんて怖くねえ最新のおしゃれなマンションに引っ越してでその鬼門ってなんだ新しいチャクラか
チャクラを知っていてなぜ鬼門を知らん？
Issei is here.
鬼門というのは良くない方角。強調を表す言葉だ。細かく言うのなら北東の方角、つまり
Ryodo Issei, the son of Ryodo Temple's head monk and the president of the student council. Issei, who came with us as a supervisor in his official role, briefly glances at me.
おおさすが寺の息子ちゃんとしてんじゃんそういうとこけど今はお断り私が聞きたいのはもっとコスモな話なわけ幽霊とかそういう話はお門違いだねほらもっとさ遠坂んちには江戸時代に隕石が落ちてたとか冬木の地下には大空洞があるとかそういう現実的な話をしろよない
や、今のは十分に現実的な話だったと思うが先ほどの実話だが廊下で少女と出会ったということは真犯人は A 氏で廊下の壁に死体を隠蔽していたという話だろう
カネちゃん、それも階段とは趣旨が違うと思う。
I remember that girl.
現実的な話をしろって言われてもね。怪談話を何だと思ってるのよ牧寺は。まあとんでも話なら遠坂の管轄だから待ってればいいの聞けるんじゃない？
それはありません。牧寺さん好みのとんでも話は知りませんから。
Tosaka counters elegantly. That's her usual manners at this sort of gathering.
そりゃ失礼。じゃあマトは？一年の誰かがマト首相はああ見えてすごく怖いとか言ってたけど。
私ですか？別に怖い話が好きなんじゃなくて階段に強いだけなんですけど。ところで三辻先輩、そんなこと言ったのは誰でしょうか？そういうところが怖いんだって気づきなさい、さくら。
She lets out quietly. No one here knows that Tosaka Rin and Mato Sakura are sisters yet.
和むのはいいがまだ始まったばかりだろ。続けるのか続けないのか。俺としてはこれ以上牧寺が騒ぐのなら会を中止させなくてはならないのだが。
そうよね。眠ってるお坊さんたちにいい迷惑だし、牧寺がもう叫ばないっていうなら続けましょう。
騒いでないじゃん。三辻の話がつまんないからダメ出ししただけじゃんかよ。
問題はそのダメ出しが次にもあるかということでしょうね。牧寺さんに我慢しろというのは呼吸をするなということと同義だから割と絶望的だけど。どう牧寺さん、呼吸止められる？
止められる。私陸上の次に水泳得意だし。
だそうですのでこのまま続けましょう。次は三枝さんかな。はい。けど私階段ってしたことなくて、大丈夫、無理に怖がらせようと思わなくていいから。綾子のは実際あった話を脚色したたちの悪い話でね。牧寺さんが怖がったのはセミナマンションの事件を知っていたからだろうし。そうなんですか？
セミナマンションの一家心中は実際にあった話だ。その1ヶ月後、隣室の青年も行方不明になり、捜索願いが出ているのも事実だぞ。
の兄ちゃんはなんか理由あって自分探しに旅立ったんだよ。素敵なサムシングなんだよ。いつか一回りでっかくなって帰ってくるんだよ。
So clearly this one here does not like scary stories. Okay.
そんなかっこいい兄ちゃんにおかしな失踪理由でっち上げるとは、なんて少年の腐った女だ、三辻綾子。
For what's worth, I would play a VN based on the story of Mr. A and his adventures with Little Red right now. Or if you want to call it adventures, but yeah.
本当にいなくなっちゃったんですか、英子さんって。
ああ、同じマンションの住人が言うのだから間違いない。そうだろう、三辻城。
そういう話だからね。とまあ私ほど脚色せずとも実際にあった噂話だけで十分ってこと。牧寺は怖がりだからね。三枝さんもその線で攻めてみるといいよ。誰かに聞いたお化けの話とかない？
So I'm betting this VN will showcase more storylines between all the side characters we really didn't get to see much of. So that's pretty cool.
それなら何個かあります。皆さん窓辺の幽霊って知ってますか？2学期から広まりだした噂なんですけど。何それ、私は初耳。お化け洋館の人影ですよね。弓道部の1年生たちが話してたような。はい、 そのお化け羊羹です。何でも冬季のどこかに使われていない羊羹があって、夜中に近づくと2階の窓辺からこうじーっと見つめてくる人影があるそうです。
ああ、人影ってどんな人影よ、ゆきっち。つうかさ、冬季のどこかにある洋館って何？
それは私も知らないんだけど、あんまり人が寄りつかないお屋敷じゃないかな。実際見た人がいるらしいんだけど、たまたま道に迷った時に洋館を見つけたんだって。なんでも周りは木ばっかりで人気がなくて、洋館の2階にいたお化けは女の人だったとか。
何それ、人気のない洋館で女が一人？そんなの遠坂んちじゃん。遠坂、あんたんちお化け屋敷にされてるぞ。
そうなのかな。ごめんなさい遠坂さん、この話って遠坂さんちのことだったの？謝らないで三枝さん。うちがご近所からそういった扱いを受けているのは今に始まったことじゃないし、牧寺さんのような言われなき中傷にも慣れていますから。
Baseless slander wouldn't be entirely accurate. The Tosaka residence is actually a type of haunted house.
じゃあこの話はやめて信徒の話にします。最近夜になると信徒の空に何か大きな糸みたいのが見えるって話なんですけど。
Unsure of herself, Saegusa Yukika looks at the crowd. I'd say that she's looking for witnesses.
その糸みたいなのが何なのか見たことある人います？
話だけは聞いてるが、あいにくとまだ怪異には出会っていない。
空って夜空？そのセンタービルの屋上に人影が立っていたなんて話じゃないわよね。
具体的な例えだね。そりゃセンタービルの屋上に赤い人影を見たって話はよく聞くけど、三枝さんの話は別物じゃなくて？
There's something mysterious about the way Mitsusuri Ayako looks at Tosaka. As if she knows the truth behind that. Tosaka, who prefers wearing red, makes a sour face. It's been half a year since the 5th Holy Grail War ended. That means that she's probably still patrolling the area at night.
牧寺先輩は見たことありますか？
ない。だがおそらくは UFO。
あたしゃ読めたよ。牧寺、あんたは階段を勘違いしてる。
そうだな。我々がしているのはオカルティックな話であってコズミックな話ではない。牧野氏、気の毒だが、いくら待っても君好みなムームー話に出番はないぞ。
What's a moo story?
読んでない。あんな面白おかしい電波本なんて購読してないよ私。だってあれすっげえつまんねえじゃん。
まあそのつまらないところがある意味たまらないのではあるが。ところで神都上空の蜃気楼の件だが。
Everyone shakes their heads. Unfortunately, there are no witnesses. However, I've been getting this feeling from a little bit ago. How should I put it?
そういう噂話なら俺からも一つ。昔から郊外の森には城が建っているという話があるだろう。それに新説が加わったそうだ。何でも城を目指して森に入ると旧帝国軍の亡霊が現れて入ってきたものを戦場に送り出すらしい。で、いくつかの関門を乗り越えた勇者だけが幻の城で一泊できてメイド姉妹に解放されるとかなんとか。
Huh.
竜道くん、 何？念願の相部屋で脳みそとろけちゃった？
俺とておかしな話だと思っておるわ。だが実際に見た者がいるのだから仕方なかろう。嘘だと思うのなら一人で郊外に特攻するがいい。
Crap. This is funny.
エミヤは今の竜道のヨタ話どう思う？
Mitsusuri shifts the conversation to me. Up until now, I've been just an observer. Ah well, I've been keeping my mouth shut because I don't know how to comment on this, but...
どうも何も一星が作り話なんてするわけないだろ。竜道寺は森に近いし案外本当にあるかもな。
It's not that I have no idea what it might be. Putting that aside for the moment, I feel bad about breaking the conversation. I've got to go to the bathroom.
あれちょっとトイレ。誰にも気づかれないようにスルッと戻ってくるんで俺に構わず続けててくれ。いいところで牧寺を脅かすから。
いいじゃん、やれるもんならやってみな。私も女だ。エミヤにゃ負けられないね。
There goes Makidera as usual, reacting in a weird way. Ever since I started having lunch with Tosaka, Makidera has been acting like this all the time. I haven't really gotten a chance to get to know Makidera, so I guess this is the game where we will, as well as the other characters. It's chilly outside. The night air in the mountains is cold and crisp, unlike in the city. Exposed to the cool air, my unclear head and ambiguous thoughts become more defined, waking me up. Looking up at the night sky, I let out a heavy sigh. I've already walked some 20 meters away from the room. Huh? It's not every day that I find myself trying to think about something for no reason in a temple's passage.
さて
What should I try contemplating first? Maybe I should try organizing my thoughts on how things ended up being like this. Speaking of things happening to me recently, there's the story of today's training camp. It involves the upcoming cultural festival, Sakura, who is working hard as the captain of the archery club, Mitsuzuri, who was looking out for her, and the strange relationship with the track and field club. At the end of a complicated argument, little by little, a training camp was being set up for the cultural festival. Issei offered the location and I was invited as a hard labor. Basically, I'm in charge of the food. Life's as hectic as ever, but at least things are peaceful. 6 months ago, there was a battle for the Holy Grail, with all the consequences. In that battle, something was lost and something was gained. It's been enough time to look back and reflect on those events. I've settled down. The Holy Grail War is a thing of the past. There's no reason for another conflict to spark in Fuyuki. The Holy Grail's gone, the servants have vanished, the dead won't return, and life continues without problems. There's no need for these days to change. The factors linking them together are almost all there. Linking a similar tomorrow with yesterday and enjoying the slight changes in the proper way of life for a person.
Ah.
My thoughts stop. I'm certain there was another reason for the training camp, and there's a weird girl that just passed us by. I'm pretty sure there was something standing towards the corner of my vision just now, in the direction of the temple grounds. It's too far off to get a good look, but there is a human figure running towards the back hill. It's probably a monk or somebody from the temple. We aren't the only ones in view of the temple. I really shouldn't be worried by random people.
そうそうそんなことよりトイレ。
We're gonna be given choices too in this game. I'm curious about that too, because it looked like we were. Increasing my pace, I jogged down the hallway. Whoops. I just bumped into someone coming from around the corner.
すみま。
こちらこそごめんなさい。少しぼーっとしていたから。
Wait. She's alive? My mind freezes. I'm too surprised to even know what I'm surprised about.
けど、あなたも気をつけなさい。
And she's nice.
廊下を走るのは感心しなくてよ、坊や。
Caster walks past me. She's as refined and sarcastic as always, but seeing her face unhooded is quite rare. However, What was I so surprised about?
そうだ。キャスターってとんでもなく美人だったんだな。
I think we should all be surprised at the fact that we're all taking this in stride. This monologue restarts my frozen mind and I keep on going. I clear my head. Having finished my business, I'm back in the guest room.
そうして八八はよみがえった。村人たちにいびり殺された息子。可愛い我が子にもう一度会いたいという母親の狂気が死者をよみがえらせたのじゃ。
He is really good at this.
じゃがよみがえった八八には至るところが欠けておった。手も足も臓物も脳みそもなかった。母親は足りない箇所を補うため毎晩捕まえて閉じ込めた村人たちから。
Issei's eyes are gleaming. I expected no less of the son of a monk. When it comes to graveyard, corpses, and karma, he has no rival. It goes without saying how Makidera would react, but the ghost story expert Himuro Mitsuzuri and even Tosaka are slightly getting ready for the conclusion. Did I just see this guy too? I'm forgetting his name already. The teacher? Wasn't he dead in the actual Holy Grail War? He got killed. It's the same with everyone. Yeah, exactly. Hold on. There was something weird just now. Kuzuki-sensei, that's his name, is quietly listening to Issei's story. Our brave leader, Fujine.
虎はなぜ強いと思う？生まれつき怖い話なんて怖くないからだ。シロウたちは生まれつき怖い話に弱いからそんな特訓をしなければならないのだ。
She had said on the verge of tears, now she's already asleep. I think this is what they'd call abdication of leadership. But since she couldn't let a meeting of a crowd of young people in the dark go unmonitored, she asked Kuzuki-sensei to take the reins of authority.
そうして八八は考える死人になった。だが悲しいかな。ようやく八八が母親の名前を呼べるようになった頃、母親はとうにこと切れておったのじゃ。邪法は母親の体を蝕んでおったのよ。八八は悲しんだ。よみがえったことはさほど嬉しくはない。ただ苦痛に耐えて自分をよみがえらせた母親が不憫でならなかった。そうして八八は自らと同じよう母をよみがえらせようとしたのじゃが、それだけはどうしてもできなかったのじゃ。母が自分に施した作動を丁寧に繰り返しても、村人たちの肉を二山三山、血を二川三川使おうとも、母は決してよみがえらなかったのじゃ。
なんでだよ。ゾンビは勝手に増えるじゃんよ。かわいそうだから増やしてやれよ。今時母ちゃんが2人になろうが10人になろうが珍しくないよ。あとなんで口調変わってんだよ生徒会長。
いいところで水を差すな牧寺。この語りは竜道家の決まりなのだ。さもありなん母親と八八では立ち位置が違ったのじゃ。教会の問題でな、いかな邪法秘法を用いようとかなわぬことが一つだけある。それは聖者のみが死者をよみがえらせられるということよ。 死者が死者を食ろうて仲間にしたところで生き返らしたことにならぬ。それはすでに人ではなく死体を食うだけの結晶を生み出したに過ぎぬのだ。
That's a good lesson. It is true that the wishes of the dead cannot be granted. It is always the breath of life that causes things to happen. Even if the deceased were to be granted life once again, without a doubt, the dead cannot ever bring back the dead. It has always been like that. Only the living can bring back the dead.
それを知らぬ矢八は永遠に血肉を集め続ける。よみがえらぬ母親のために今でも竜道で人の手足を集め続けているという話じゃ。これが冬木に伝わるムクロ塚の矢八郎、影山の臓物墓場の言われである。
Issei ends his tale. The candle's blown out. His turn is over.
今のはそれなりに聞いたわね。寺の息子が寺に泊まっている時に墓場の話をするとは思いませんでした。その大人げなさに脱帽です。
今日はこちらの陣地だからな。仏敵を打ちのめすためなら使えるものは何でも使う。
Who's next? The staple of camping trips, ghost stories would go around in a circle.
ほら、次はエミヤの番。生徒会長の後で大変だろうけど、一つ気合の入ったのを頼むわ。
心配には及びません、三辻先輩。先輩、階段には強いですよ。夏場に藤村先生を脅かすのに効果的ですから。
I got Makidera shivering in the back. Everyone's eyes focus on me. I've got a couple of ghost stories on me, but this is the first time I've ever told one to this many people. In fact, I don't really like telling stories in the first place. I can't do the weird dramatization, and I can't really tell if they're good or not.
落ち着いてでいいわよ、エミヤくん。いつも通りで、ここが土蔵だと思ってればいいんだから。
Well, now I feel awkward. Well, it's really not like me, but this is part of the festival, to wrap up the great trip.
それじゃあ長い話を一つ。
Doing something I usually wouldn't, I start telling my story for the first time. An extract is made from the middle. Ooh. Okay. Heavens Feel, Back Night. For an unknown period of time, I was crouching down. Not a single moan escapes me. My throat has been pierced by a rotting branch. My tongue was the first one to be pulled out. My vocal organs have been carefully destroyed to silence me. I have no body to struggle in pain. My limbs have been completely severed. It's as if only my heart is still living. My body stopped working long ago, but my sense of pain alone has yet to fail me. Living and being in pain are one and the same. And as long as I continue to exist, even as only a heart, the pain won't end. For a long time, I have been left in this sunny spot. It is hope at its highest and despair at its deepest. How idiotic. It must be some detestable figment of my imagination. A misunderstanding coming from my insufficient awareness and inadequate experience. I repeat the cycle of pain and relief. It reminds me of the exercise repetitions I supposedly experienced in my childhood. Up to heaven, down to hell, west, east. The faraway deeper than everyone, like a cradle, a paradise of blooms without an exit. It's not painful to have no limbs, to lose myself bit by bit. I'm just scared. I'm scared of being nothing. I can't bear the lie of ceasing to be anything. If nothing comes from this, then this is nothing more than suffering for the sake of suffering. My body's on the verge of death. While desperately wishing to die, I frantically wish to continue living. That contradiction. Men of older times called it hell. How wonderful I can hear a silver-colored ring. To be honest, I didn't want to die. I wonder if this is him telling the story now, or if this is someone else's story. Otherwise, this was weird. Storyception. For a long time, she was in a state of suspended animation. I hear something. It sounds like pebbles hitting each other and is somehow rhythmical, reminding me of a lively polka. When in absent mind, I listened only to that sound. Where am I? I can't remember. No, I don't feel like remembering. My indolence is embarrassing. It's ridiculous how I'm awake, but my mind and will are still asleep. I strain my lumbering head and limbs, and crack at the whip of my mulish body. Pushing my arms downwards, I slightly prop up my body that was lying face down. I seem to be on a couch. How long have I been sleeping? When I try to recall where I am in the first place, my forehead is struck by severe pain. I feel dizzy. It's almost like the morning after a bout of heavy drinking. I have the bad habit of showing off by drinking all night despite being a weak drinker, but luckily there isn't a trace of alcohol inside me. While still mentally unfocused and unsteady, I check my surroundings. I ought to be in a mansion. I don't recognize it. I can't recall why I'm here and why I have been asleep until now. The sound continues. There's no clock. It's pitch black outside. My gut is telling me it's past midnight. Inside, there's... No, I can't see at all. Not only do my arms and legs feel heavy, but my vision has also been weakened, it appears. I know the layout of the room, but it's too blurry for me to get a good view of it. Still, I attempt to grasp my current situation and finally... I finally noticed that in front of me, someone is sitting with his face towards me. It's too dark for my weakened vision, so I can't quite make it out. I can still tell that it is the shadow of a man. The man is sitting and looking downward. He's in a reading posture and pays no notice to me. It looks as if he's engrossed with something. What is he doing? I slowly push myself up to look at his hands. It was easier for my arms and legs to recover than it was for my mental ability and vision. Once I start moving, my mobility will increase the more I move. It's not a book he's occupied with. I believe it's a picture puzzle. A simple game with the picture broken up into 16 pieces. One of the pieces is removed and the rest are shuffled, and then moved into an open block to bring it back into the original picture, I think. It's an amusement aimed at children that everybody has picked up at least once. He's still occupied with the puzzle. I stopped looking at him and raised myself up to a sitting position on the sofa.
Yo, 目が覚めたか、マスター。
He says as if he were an old friend of mine. I'm startled by my mumbled voice.
なんだよ。まだ寝てんのか、あんた。ほら、いい加減目を覚ませよ。目が死んでるぜ。いつもの生真面目さはどこ行った？
I have no idea what's going on right now. He laughed viciously. His voice is irritating, but I don't feel any anger. Stunned, I look at him in confusion.
私はどうして？
That question came first. No matter how hard I try, I can't remember why I'd been asleep. He furrows his eyebrows, odd considering I can't see very well, and points to the corner of the room. There is an old, dull mirror in the corner.
自分で確認しろよ。あんたは何でも自分一人でできるんだから。
I walk up to the mirror on unsteady feet. There isn't any lighting, and the pale moonlight sharpens the darkness. There is a cloudy mirror, abandoned for many, many years, in this godforsaken mansion. In it, looking at me stunned, is unmistakably myself. My voice slips out. This doesn't make any sense. Why am I startled at seeing the body that I've grown up with for more than 20 years? Dark red hair and eyes. An unlikable figure useful only for intimidating others. An armor of male attire that denies any femininity. This is me. The same old me. The same plain old Bazette Fraga, Makremitz. That's a weird name. And yet, I'm still startled. I can feel that there is something wrong with the figure shown in the mirror. As if there is something extra, and as if something that ought to be there is missing. Just as the paradoxical notion entered my mind.
落ち着いたか？なら手っ取り早く殺しに行こう。お互いやられっぱなしは性に合わねえだろ、マスター。
But that one word he erased a small doubt that something was out of place. Master. Why had I forgotten that word? The battle for a miracle, 7 magi putting their lives on the line. The master of the ultimate familiar wielding the Holy Grail. That is why I'm here. To participate in the great ritual known as the Holy Grail War of this Asian island country. The Holy Grail is a holy artifact said to grant the wishes of its master, but there has yet to be one who has obtained the true Holy Grail. It is ultimately no more than a legend. The Holy Grail summoned in Fuyuki is an imitation based on this legend. However, though it may not be the original, as long as it is a powerful artifact that grants wishes, it is called the Holy Grail. To the Magi, the matter of true and false is a lesser issue. The main concern is whether or not that imitation is powerful. In that case, the Holy Grail in Fuyuki could be said to be of great concern.